Discover how a homeless black girl's incredible act of kindness changed the life of a dying woman. Maya wandered through her vibrant yet struggling downtown neighborhood, and the cold wind seemed to whip at her dreams as fiercely as it bit at her cheeks. She was no stranger to empty pockets and a hungry belly. But her spirit? Well, that was a different story. With a warm smile, she twirled around, letting the joy inside her flicker like a candle against the heartlessness of life. One chilly afternoon, with her stomach growling and her heart still hopeful, she rummaged through a bin behind a local grocer, craving anything tangible to fill the void. Amid the rubble, her fingers brushed against something unexpected. She turned to see Ruth, an elderly woman with a frail frame, slumped in her doorway, loneliness echoing around her like a ghost. Ruth's weathered hands rested in her lap, and you could almost hear the silence surrounding her, filled with the weight of unspoken regrets. A family that had drifted away like a forgotten dream. Maya felt an ache of compassion surge through her as she approached. In a world often indifferent, Maya was a beacon of kindness, her heart bigger than any hardship she faced. She offered Ruth her last apple, a crimson red like the promise of a sunset. Ruth's eyes flickered with surprise, then softened with gratitude. "I haven't tasted something that fresh in ages," Ruth whispered, her voice barely above a sigh, yet it was filled with more warmth than any blanket could provide. The two spent that afternoon in hesitant conversation, laughter spilling into the chilly air, weaving a bond that bridged generations. Maya shared tales of her life, the struggle against the tides of economic inequality, while Ruth confessed her sorrows, loves lost, choices made that had left her alone. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks, and Maya continued to visit Ruth, who was now like family. There was something miraculous about their friendship, each brought joy and wisdom to the other's life. But suddenly, as the shadows lengthened and the leaves turned brittle, Maya learned that Ruth's time was short. The doctors had said things that echoed much too loudly in her heart. Facing harsh realities head-on, Maya felt a fire ignite within her. Ruth had believed in her when everyone else had overlooked her. Now, it was time for Maya to fight not just for herself, but for Ruth's legacy. She refused to let this wise woman's story fade into silence. But was she strong enough to battle against the indifference of the world around them? The questions loomed heavy as whispers from the community began swirling around her like a storm, their judgment piercing. Maya would have to confront more than just her personal struggle. Would the kindness that had sparked between an elderly woman and a homeless girl be enough to change hearts and minds? With a determination that pulsed through her veins, she prepared to stand tall, ready to face whatever came next. Could she rise above it all to protect someone who had become family? Maya sat on the steps of Ruth's stoop, her heart heavy with worry. The vibrant leaves around her were falling, each one a reminder of time slipping away. She could hear the distant hum of the city, people buzzing by, their lives filled with noise, yet here, it felt achingly quiet. Ruth had taken a turn for the worse, her frail body becoming barely a shadow of the spirited woman Maya had come to know. Every day brought a new challenge. The community seemed to tiptoe around them, their eyes lingering with a mix of pity and apprehension. It was almost as if they were unsure whether to help or to walk away. Maya felt it deep in her bones, the weight of judgment and the eerie silence of indifference. Why was humanity so good at looking away? But this was Ruth. She was not just another old lady, she was a vessel of love and laughter, a treasure map filled with wisdom. Maya couldn't let people forget that. She couldn't silently witness her friend fade while everyone else turned a blind eye. Determined, she marched into the community center, where local meetings often sparked discussions about the needs of the neighborhood. "Excuse me," she exclaimed, her voice cutting through the muted chatter. Heads turned, some surprised by her fierce presence. Others, however, rolled their eyes, dismissing her as just another homeless girl with a wild dream. But Maya pressed on, fueled by her conviction. I need everyone to listen. We have to help Ruth. She's not just any elderly woman, she has stories that can inspire us all. Murmurs filled the room, whispers of doubt and skepticism swirling in the air, but Maya wouldn't back down. She taught me kindness when I had nothing. I believe we can do the same for her. She paused, taking a deep breath. The silence felt heavy, but she pushed through it. Let us organize a fundraiser. Everyone deserves a chance, and Ruth? She deserves to be celebrated. For a moment, it felt like a spark flickered in the room, a possibility igniting. Some nodded along, while others still seemed frozen in place. But one voice spoke out, a woman Maya recognized, someone whose own struggles mirrored her own. I've seen you around, the woman said gently. We've all got our battles. But what do you suggest we do, really? How can we change things for her? Relief surged through Maya. Finally, a crack in the wall of skepticism. We could host a community dinner, potluck style. Everyone can bring something to share. We raise money, but more than that, we lift Ruth's spirit when she needs it most. We show her that she is loved. There was a pause as those who were skeptical considered her words. After what felt like an eternity, one person finally spoke, if we gather donations and meals, we could make that happen. For Ruth. The energy shifted, a quiet buzz of agreement growing. Maya felt hope spark within her like the first light of dawn. One by one, others began to voice their support. It was small, but it was a start, but as the excitement brewed, a deeper worry stirred in Maya's chest. What if it was too late? What if Ruth couldn't hold on long enough for them to bring her the joy she deserved? Determined to make this happen, Maya turned to the calendar on the wall, marking the date for the potluck. With a touch of fear and hope swirling in her heart, she prepared to rally the community. But just as she resolved to take action, a loud voice called from the back, almost a growl, and what about the rest of us? You think we're just going to sit back and hope that helps someone we hardly know? The tension cracked the air as many turned to see the source of doubt. Was there more at stake than Maya realized? Would Ruth's fate depend on not just their actions but also their perceptions? As uncertainty gripped her heart, she felt the weight of those words settle in. It was time for more than just courage, it was time for a movement. How far was she willing to go to fight for Ruth? Could she rally not just kindness but genuine change in a world that seemed so ready to look away? The room fell silent, all eyes now on Maya. The voice that had spoken came from a tired man sitting at a table, his brows furrowed and weariness etched on his face. His tone was rough, but the concern underlined his words. Maya could see the hardened edges of life in his features, the invisible scars segregating individuals from their communities. She understood that he wasn't only skeptical, he felt forgotten too. We've all got our problems, lady, he continued, his voice steady. We're all fighting our battles every single day. Why should Ruth get special treatment? Maya felt the weight of his challenge, but there was a fire inside her that smoldered beneath the surface. She took a deep breath, rallying her thoughts. Because Ruth fought for all of us. She's brought joy into this community, listening to our worries, offering her kitchen for our families. She deserves a chance to feel that love in return. If we can show her that we care, we become a part of something greater, a community that stands together. The man crossed his arms, still skeptical, but there was a flicker in his eyes. Maya pressed further, her heart pounding. Look, when we help someone else, we help ourselves. If we don't start somewhere, what are we doing here? We might be lost, but none of us are alone. We owe it to Ruth as much as we owe it to ourselves to be part of the healing. A woman near the front shifted, glancing at Maya with renewed interest. She's right. Ruth's a part of our lives. My kids love her stories about growing up in this neighborhood. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Maya grinned, the hope igniting a warmth in her chest. Let us bring our best dishes, things that Ruth loves. I'll make her favorite cornbread, said another voice, electric with a sudden burst of energy. With each suggestion, the tension in the room dissipated. The more they spoke, the more the atmosphere transformed from doubt to determination. The buried memories of Ruth's laughter and kindness began to surface, igniting a connection in everyone's hearts. Each had a story of Ruth etched into their lives. As the meeting wrapped up, people flocked to Maya, offering their support and ideas, promising to spread the word. It felt contagious, this movement she had ignited. Yet, amid the excitement, her earlier worries returned. Would Ruth even be strong enough to understand? "Hey, Maya," called the woman who had first backed her in the meeting. "I'm holding a flyer-making session tomorrow evening. Wanna join? We can put the word out to everyone." Maya nodded, a smile breaking through her worry. Yes. This was real. Each step was a push closer to bringing Ruth back into the fold, back into their hearts. As she stepped out of the community center into the crisp night air, hope seeped through her soul like sunlight breaking after a storm. But could they really pull this off? Would everyone show up for Ruth? Or would she slip away before they had a chance to lift her spirits one last time? Maya's heart raced with both anxiety and anticipation as she walked home, the glow of streetlights illuminating her path. A new thought emerged, an odd blend of fear and excitement. What if they needed more than just food? What if Ruth's battle was raging deeper than anyone realized? The questions swirled in her mind, each one more profound than the last. As darkness wrapped around her, she felt the weight of responsibility pressing down. Could she face whatever was to come? And would Ruth be able to share the love they so desperately wanted to give? Maya pushed forward, knowing she had to find out, but how far would she go to uncover the truth before it was too late? Maya woke up early the next morning, sunlight streaming through her window. She felt both energized and anxious. A sense of excitement pulsed through her veins, yet the weight of Ruth's situation loomed large. She couldn't shake the worry that there was more to Ruth's struggle than anyone realized. After breakfast, she called her best friend, Sam. "I think we need to do more than just a surprise dinner. It's got to be something that really shows Ruth she's loved, that she matters." "Like what?" Sam asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Maya paced back and forth in her tiny living room. "What if we create a scrapbook? We could gather notes, photos, memories from everyone in the community. Show her the impact she's had on all of our lives. Now that's an idea." Sam responded, newfound excitement bubbling in her tone. "People wouldn't just bring dishes, they'd share stories. I can even take some photos of everyone at the dinner." Maya's heart fluttered with anticipation. If they could capture the essence of Ruth's love and kindness, it might just light up her spirits. "Exactly. We need to get the flyers out, and we should start setting something up right away. People are already buzzing about helping." As they chatted, Maya felt a sense of urgency rise. Time was ticking. Ruth was facing something deeper than mere loneliness. It was a fight for her life, and they needed to boost her heart as much as her health. Feeling empowered, Maya got to work reaching out to everyone. Calls and texts flew back and forth as people committed to cooking, sharing memories, and contributing their love. Later that evening, she joined a group of friends at the community center. The air was thick with laughter and chatter as they cut colorful paper and brainstormed about how to spread the word. It felt electric, the positive energy was intoxicating. But in the back of her mind, doubt lingered. What if it wasn't enough? The next day, sitting at her kitchen counter, Maya scrutinized her phone. The screensaver was a picture of Ruth with a beaming smile, surrounded by children. She felt a pang in her heart. This caring woman deserved more than just fleeting happiness. She deserved to know that the ripples of her kindness had reached everyone around her. As the days passed, the project grew. People began leaving notes and photos in a special box, and stories flowed in faster than Maya could keep track of. Sam sent her an update about the flyer-making session. "Everyone's getting excited," her friend texted. "I can feel it. Ruth will know she's cherished." Maya felt pride swell in her chest. "This is going to make a difference," she whispered to herself. But there was a crack of concern in her voice. As the surprise dinner drew near, she still wondered if showing Ruth love would be enough. Would it be enough to reach the depths of her pain? On the night of the gathering, the community center buzzed with anticipation. Tables were laden with food, each dish a love letter from a neighbor. As laughter echoed around her, Maya stood at the entrance, clutching the scrapbook tight to her chest. What would Ruth think? Would the love be potent enough to battle the darkness that loomed in her heart? Just as the door swung open, and Ruth stepped inside, the room fell silent. The warmth of the gathered faces met her with open arms. Maya held her breath, heart thumping. Could this be the moment that changed everything? Would Ruth feel the tangible love of her community? As Maya watched Ruth's expression soften, she couldn't help but wonder what was to come. Would this be enough to heal the wounds hidden deep within? As Ruth stepped into the community center, the initial silence hung heavy in the air. For a moment, no one breathed. Then, like a string plucked on a guitar, a wave of whispers erupted, followed by the gentle rustle of chairs as people shifted closer to get a better look. Ruth's eyes darted around, taking in the colorful decorations and the tables piled high with food. A deep frown creased her brow before it slowly unfurled into a tentative smile. The flow of love enveloped her like a warm hug, and Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Surprise!" A chorus of voices erupted. Ruth took a shaky step forward, her eyes glistening. The sight of people she knew and loved, gathered together for her, made her heart swell and ache in equal measure. Maya stepped closer, the scrapbook still clutched in her hands like a lifeline. "Look at all this," Ruth murmured, barely above a whisper, as she scanned the array of dishes, each one representing a cherished memory or a shared moment. "You all did this for me?" Sam, standing beside Maya, stepped forward to give Ruth a gentle hug. "We love you, Ruth. This is our way of showing you just how much you matter." Tears shimmered in Ruth's eyes as she wrapped her arms around Sam. Her smile widened, cracks of hope breaking through the shadows that had clung to her for so long. The laughter began again, bubbling like a spring, easing the heaviness of the moment. Maya finally took a breath, realizing that this wasn't just an extravagant dinner, it was a lifeline, a testament of community that Ruth would never forget. She couldn't wait any longer. It was time to share the scrapbook. "Ruth, I want to show you something," Maya said, stepping forward, excitement bubbling within her. Ruth's eyes widened as Maya carefully opened the scrapbook, revealing the heartfelt notes and pictures. There were stories from everyone in the community, laughing memories, adventures shared, strength given when times were hard, all captured in ink and pressed between pages. As Ruth flipped through the pages, her expression shifted from disbelief to awe, each turn of the page revealing a piece of love that had been nourished through shared moments over the years. "Oh my!" Ruth gasped as she came across a picture of the neighborhood picnic from last summer, her face beaming alongside children she had helped care for. "I remember that day. We had so much fun. See, Ruth? You've made a difference in so many lives," Maya said softly, her voice steadied by a swell of emotion. "We're all here because we care about you. Truly." But as Ruth continued to read, a shadow passed across her face. There it was, flickers of that familiar pain. Maya's heart sank at the realization that, despite the beauty around them, Ruth was still grappling with her burdens. "What if," Ruth's voice trembled. "What if I don't have the strength to handle what's coming next?" The laughter faded momentarily as the weight of her words settled on the room like a thick fog. Maya hesitated, unsure how to respond. The vulnerability in Ruth's gaze ripped at Maya's heart. Suddenly, from the back of the room, one of the children Ruth had mentored stepped forward, clutching a small hand-painted flower pot. "Mrs. Ruth," the girl announced, her tiny voice bright like sunshine. You're not alone. You've always been there for us. We want to be there for you, too. Ruth's expression softened, and for a fleeting moment, hope flickered back to life. Could Ruth accept the love being offered? As everyone knelt, the air filled with words of encouragement and warm hugs, Maya knew this was only the beginning of something powerful. But was the support of her community enough to help Ruth face the much larger battle ahead? Maya felt a pang of doubt but held tightly to hope. What if Ruth could find a way to be strong, surrounded by love? Would this unexpected outpouring change everything for her? As the evening unfolded, the light in Ruth's eyes began to glimmer like the stars outside. Yet Maya couldn't shake off the lingering question: what would happen when the lights dimmed and the reality of Ruth's struggles returned? Before the night ended, Ruth raised her glass, her voice shaking with emotion. To love, to community, and to the unknown journeys ahead. But Maya wondered, would love be enough to carry Ruth through the darkest parts of her journey? The laughter and chatter filled the community center, wrapping around Ruth like a fragile cocoon. Maya watched as she took a deep breath, blinking back the tears that sparkled in her eyes. As the evening wore on, the atmosphere shifted. An undeniable current of warmth flowed through the room, stitching together stories and strength. Maya felt lighter, buoyed by the realization that love had a way of dissolving heavy burdens, even if just for a moment. Sam pulled Ruth into a light-hearted debate about who made the best peach cobbler. Laughter erupted, and the tension in Ruth's shoulders began to ease. She was still there, feet rooted in the present, but her mind seemed far away, contemplating uncharted waters. Maya knew Ruth's heart, despite the laughter, was still wrestling with those haunting fears. "Why don't you share your favorite story from the scrapbook?" Maya suggested, drawing closer, her voice soothing. Ruth's fingers skimmed the pages, her eyes catching on a photo of a garden blooming with vegetables, a project they'd practically brought to life together last spring. Ruth's gaze flickered thoughtfully as she spoke. That garden, it wasn't just dirt and seeds. It felt like hope, like our community rising together. I remember the kids racing to pull weeds, claiming they were saving the planet. A gentle smile crept across her lips, and for a moment, the worry lifted. Sam nodded, playing off Ruth's sincerity. "And you were the captain of that ship, steering everything to grow and shine." Maya could see Ruth absorbing those words, and it ignited something inside her. Maybe she didn't just need encouragement, maybe she needed a reminder of the power of her own voice. "You know, Ruth," Maya began, her voice steadying, "when you say you're scared of what's next, we can all feel that. It's okay to be afraid, but remember you've faced challenges before. You handled everything from wild garden pests to juggling life's unexpected curveballs." A flicker of recognition sparked in Ruth's eyes. Her lips parted as though to respond, but the words hung, hesitant. Instead, she nodded, and Maya could see a shift, the comfort of their community wrapped around her like a blanket. Just then, a playful slice of mischief sparked in Sam's eyes. "Hey, how about we have a little competition? Let us see who can tell a story from the scrapbook without crying." The room erupted in laughter once more, and Ruth joined in, the bubbling joy hinting at a glimmer of her former self. Stories began swirling around, from childhood adventures to tough moments that shaped them. Each tale added another layer to the love festering in the AIR.as the night progressed, though, an unspoken worry settled back over Maya like a shadow. The laughter was a balm, but the truth of Ruth's struggle was still looming, inexplicable and heavy. They would return to ordinary days soon, and those days weren't always kind. The clock ticked steadily toward the end of the night, and while the emotions flowed freely, so did the truth. Real strength stems from the quiet acknowledgement of their fears. Maya wanted Ruth to see that she had an army behind her, but an army couldn't fight Ruth's battles for her. As the last toast spoke of resilience and love, Ruth looked around at her community, a mixture of gratitude and trepidation swirling in her eyes. She knew they believed in her, but what if, in the days to come, she faltered? The warmth around them didn't seem like enough, and a question echoed in Maya's mind: How could they take this love and hold onto it when the tide turned against them? Maya felt her heart race as she glanced at the scrapbook, the tangible memories ready to guide them through tougher times ahead. It was clear tonight had opened a door. But as the night dwindled, she wondered, could they truly prepare for the hard days on the horizon? Maya squeezed Ruth's hand, willing strength into her as the music shifted to a softer tune. It felt like the calm before the storm, a graceful pause before they'd have to step back into the chaos of reality. And as the last note lingered in the air, a thought struck her like lightning: what if the real test of their community began tomorrow? The morning light spilled through the curtains, casting a golden hue across the community center's once bustling hall. It felt quieter now, like a breath held, waiting to be released. Ruth stood at the window, tracing the hint of frost on the glass, a soft reminder of the biting chill outside. She took a moment to breathe in the stillness, craving the comfort of yesterday's laughter but feeling the weight of uncertainty creep in. Maya arrived with a steaming cup of coffee, the rich aroma cutting through the lingering quiet. She placed it carefully next to Ruth, and their eyes locked. No words were needed, they understood each other's concerns. Ruth wrapped her hands around the warm cup, the heat seeping into her skin, though the chill in her heart remained. "You know, I remember a day like this," Ruth said quietly, her voice trembling slightly. "It was one of the first harvest days from the garden." She chuckled softly. "I was so proud, thinking we'd brought life where there was only dirt. And then, there were those kids, those wild little spirits, chowing down on tomatoes straight off the vine." Maya couldn't help but smile at the memory, the vivid images rushing back. "You've always had a way of bringing people together, Ruth. But what if I can't keep doing it?" Ruth's courage melted a little, the fear spilling out like water slipping through her fingers. "What if everyone expects me to always be strong?" Maya's heart ached for her friend. "It's okay if you need to lean on us sometimes. You don't have to be the rock every moment." Ruth stared into her coffee, grappling with the truth in Maya's words. The fear of failing her community gnawed at her. She wanted to be the captain of the ship, but all she felt was the storm stirring deep within. Just then, Sam burst through the door, his energy brighter than the sun streaming through the windows. "All right, team. I've got an idea for today." His excitement was palpable. "Let's take what we've done in the garden and bring it to our lunch program. We can teach kids to cook with what we grew. What do you think?" Ruth's heart fluttered at the thought. It was a way back, an opportunity to share her love for the garden in a new light. Maybe this was precisely what she needed. But she hesitated. What if I forget how to teach them? What if they don't want to listen? Maya placed her hand firmly on Ruth's shoulder. "You have so much to share, and those kids look up to you. Trust that your passion will shine through, even if you feel unsure." Ruth considered this. The worry still lingered, but there was a flicker of hope igniting in her chest. "So what's the plan then?" Sam grinned, pulling out a clipboard filled with ideas, notes scribbled hastily. "In short, I want you to lead us, Ruth. Just like last spring." There it was, the community once again rallying around her in a way that felt almost magical. A part of her still feared what was ahead, but deep down, a voice whispered that she could do this. They were all in it together, ready to turn their struggles into a symphony of joy and growth. As Sam got animated with ideas and advantages of using fresh produce, Maya caught Ruth's eye again. This time, her friend wore a hint of a smile, and that warmth spread through the room like sunlight chasing away the shadows. Later that day, as Ruth gathered the children, she felt a swell of determination rise within her. Little hands reached out for tomatoes, eyes widening in wonder. Could teaching them instill the very hope she had felt during their garden days? But what if the challenges she feared hadn't vanished? Ruth couldn't shake the nagging thought as they chopped vegetables together, a question threading through her mind that felt weighty and unignorable. What if her own fears overshadowed what could blossom from this experience? As the first laughter rang out, a pulse of realization struck Ruth harder than it ever had. This was the moment she needed to embrace, not just for her sake, but for the kids huddled around her. And perhaps, just perhaps, they could face the upcoming days and the shadows they carried together. The impact of that simple act loomed larger than life itself, a chance for transformation waiting just beneath the surface. As the sun dipped lower outside, casting long shadows, Ruth silently wondered. Would today be the beginning of a fresh chapter for her and those little souls ready to bloom? The room filled with sounds of chopping vegetables and excited chatter as Ruth moved between groups of children. Each face shone with a bright curiosity that washed over her like a gentle wave. For a moment, fear faded, replaced by the joy that came from the garden's bounty. Yet, in the back of her mind, the old worries lurked, like unwanted shadows nipping at her heels. She watched as Marisol, a tiny girl with pigtails bouncing with each movement, clumsily sliced a cucumber, a fierce look of concentration on her face. "Can I make a salad, Miss Ruth?" she asked, looking up with wide eyes. "Absolutely. That sounds delicious," Ruth replied, her heart swelling at the young girl's enthusiasm. As they worked together, memories filtered through Ruth's mind like sunlight breaking through clouds. Each laugh and shared story felt like an anchor, pulling her back to the ground when her worries threatened to lift her away. Yet, just as Marisol finished her salad, Ruth felt a familiar weight settling in her chest. "Miss Ruth?" Another voice broke through her thoughts. It was Eli, his brows furrowed. "What happens if we mess things up? I don't want to disappoint you." Ruth knelt down to meet his gaze, her heart breaking at the worried look on his face. "Eli," she began gently, "if we mess up, it's just a chance to learn. Every garden has weeds, and it's okay. What matters is that we keep trying. But what if no one likes it?" He pressed, the doubt hanging heavily between them. Ruth smiled, her voice steady. "You know, I once thought the same thing about the first harvest. Some people might have liked the tomatoes, and others didn't. But look at how far we've come. The most important part is that we do this together. That's what makes it worthwhile." He seemed to consider this, his small brow easing. "Okay, I trust you." Just then, a louder laugh echoed, and Ruth turned to see Sam laughing and holding up a basket overflowing with vegetables. "Check this out, everyone. Who can guess how many tomatoes are in here?" The children erupted into cheers, and Ruth felt her heart lift. Maybe today was more than just a lesson in cooking. It was about community and bonding, a thread keeping them woven together in a tapestry of hope. As they finished preparing their dishes, the smell of tomatoes, basil, and garlic swirled deliciously in the air. Children gathered around tables, eyes sparkling with pride at their creations. This was the moment Ruth had yearned for, yet still, the anxious thoughts nagged at her. When the time came for the children to taste test, Ruth pressed her lips together, anxious. What if they turned their noses up? What if today became a memory clouded by disappointment? The first child took a bite and paused, their eyes wide. "This is amazing!" he exclaimed, and that simple comment sparked a chorus of "Yes, yummy! And more, please!" Ruth felt her heart race, tears threatening to spill over. Overjoyed, she joined them as they all dove into their plates filled with bright colors and fresh flavors. Each bite was met with giggles and little voices declaring their favorites, igniting a warmth that filled the room. But just as she settled into the carefree atmosphere, Ruth caught a glimpse of a familiar face outside the community center, the silhouette of a young girl standing in the shadows, shoulders hunched and eyes cast down. Ruth's heart sank as she recognized her, an often overlooked figure in their community. A homeless girl, known for fleeting appearances but never staying long enough to connect. As laughter spilled from the center, a sudden urgency rose within Ruth. Today had been magical, but could it spark a change? What if reaching out to that girl, not just cooking in the kitchen, was the next step? It was then that Ruth felt the familiar push of courage, and she decided, "Sam. Maya. I need your help." The laughter faded as all eyes turned to her, anticipation spinning in the air. Would this act become the bridge she needed to bring everyone together? As she stepped toward the door, a flicker of doubt flickered in her mind again. What if this girl didn't he want help? What if Ruth's efforts fell flat? But she took a breath, feeling the weight of the moment, and knew she had to try. Would this act of kindness be the turning point needed for both of them? The answer loomed just ahead, waiting to be found. Ruth pushed open the door, the cool air brushing against her cheeks like a whisper of encouragement. Sam and Maya followed closely behind, their excitement mingling with her nervous energy. Outside, the girl lingered at the edge of the garden, barely illuminated by the setting sun. "Hey, wait!" Ruth called out gently, her voice breaking through the laughter that echoed behind her. The girl flinched at the sound, her figure instinctively retreating into the shadows. Ruth's heart raced, a mix of determination and fear surging within her. As she approached, Ruth noticed the girl's ragged clothes, the way her hair hung in tangled knots. Still, there was something striking about her. Despite the grime of the streets, there was a light in her eyes, a flicker of spirit that begged to be ignited. "I'm Ruth," she said, lowering her gaze to meet the girl's downcast eyes. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated, searching Ruth's face as if trying to find the truth within her words. "Nia," she finally replied, her voice barely a whisper. "Nia," Ruth repeated, letting the name linger in the air. "Are you hungry?" Nia's eyes flickered up in surprise. "A little," she admitted, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Ruth felt a wave of relief wash over her. This was an opportunity to connect. "We just made some food inside," she said, motioning for Nia to join them. "I'd love for you to try it." Nia hesitated again, biting her lip, glancing back toward the shadows where she felt safest. But Sam, with all the enthusiasm a 10-year-old could muster, stepped forward. "Come on. It's super tasty. You won't regret it," he said, a wide grin splitting his face. Slowly, Nia took a step forward, then another until she stood at the entrance, her body tense but curious. Ruth extended her hand gently. "Just a little taste, I promise it's good. You won't have to stay long if you don't want to," she offered, a friendly smile breaking through her own worries. With a small, reluctant nod, Nia took Ruth's hand, and together they stepped into the warmth of the community center. The vibrant colors of the room enveloped them, buzzing with laughter and chatter. The moment they entered, the laughter came to a soft halt, and curious eyes turned toward the unexpected newcomer. Ruth's heart pounded in her chest. She felt the weight of the room's gaze, but she also sensed the warmth of community forming around them. "Everyone," she called, her voice gaining strength. "This is Nia. She's joining us for a bit. Would you all make her feel welcome?" Some of the children, wide-eyed and eager, rushed to their seats, leaving a spot at the table open for Nia. "You should sit here," echoed Maya, motioning to the chair beside her. As Nia took a seat, the initial tension seemed to melt away, replaced by a growing sense of curiosity. The kids began sharing their dishes, passing their colorful plates with the enthusiasm that had initially filled the room. "I made this salad," exclaimed Marisol, her plate overflowing with greens. "You've never tasted anything like it." Nia's eyes widened as she watched the plates of food being shared, an unspoken invitation into their world. Ruth watched as Marisol spoke, her hands animated, and that moment felt electric. It was as if the simple act of sharing food had the power to bridge the gap between backgrounds and struggles, but just as Nia reached for a fork, a sudden hesitation gripped her heart. The shadows outside still clung to her like a familiar blanket. What if this moment was too good to be true? Would they accept her fully? Ruth sensed the change and leaned closer to Nia. "It's okay," she whispered. "You belong here, just like everyone else." Nia froze for a heartbeat, her expression turning to contemplation. "But, what if I mess everything up?" she murmured, fear lining her voice. "Who cares?" Sam piped up with a grin. "We all mess up. the best part is trying again. Nia took a deep breath, glancing at the plate in front of her. With newfound courage, she picked up her fork. But then, in that moment of connection, Ruth could feel the weight of something more. Opportunity for transformation. Nia's choice to stay, to be part of this moment, could change everything. Little did they all know, this gathering was not just about food. It was the first step in weaving a deeper bond, one that could unravel the isolation of their circumstances. What might happen if they opened their hearts further? What else lay hidden beneath the surface? Nia's choice was just the beginning, if only they could navigate the road ahead together. In the days that followed, something beautiful blossomed in the community. Nia became a regular sight at the community center, her laughter weaving through the air like a sweet melody. Ruth watched in awe as a new layer of connection developed not just between her and Nia, but among all the children and families who gathered. Meals transformed from mere nourishment into shared experiences, each table a haven of stories, friendship, and healing. Ruth drank in the sight of kids diving into fresh salads, swaps of recipes buzzing among them, and the joy of camaraderie sprouting like wildflowers. One afternoon, as the sun streamed through the windows, Nia stood before a group of children, a hesitant smile on her lips. "Can I help cook today?" she asked, her voice playful, yet courageous. The room erupted with cheerful cheers, her spirit lighting up the space. Though the laughter wrapped them all in warmth, Ruth still felt the shadows of her worries lurking. She often thought about the fragility of these moments. What would happen if life got hard again? Would Nia slip away when things began to feel overwhelming? Each night, Ruth would lay awake, contemplating how to keep this new hope alive not just for Nia but for everyone. Then one day, it happened. While prepping ingredients for their next meal, an unexpected visitor appeared at the kitchen door. It was a man, ragged and worn, with haunted eyes. Ruth's heart sank. She recognized the look of someone grappling with their own battles. I heard about the meals," he stammered, his voice barely audible. Can I have some?" Ruth felt the room still. She glanced at Nia, who looked back in surprise but then nodded encouragingly. "Come in," Ruth said firmly, her heart ignited with the same courage she had seen in her young friends. As the man hesitantly stepped inside, there was a palpable shift in the atmosphere. Ruth watched as Nia approached him, her face brightening. "We made some of my favorite food," she said, an earnest smile lighting her features. As the man's eyes took in her enthusiasm, something melted gradually. The heaviness in his demeanor began to lift. Together, the community surrounded him with kindness, sharing meals and stories, weaving him into the tapestry they were creating. This simple act of compassion showed Ruth that challenge and love often go hand in hand. And slowly but surely, as laughter burst forth anew, so did the realization that each person, Nia, the man, Ruth, was fighting their own battles while learning to stand tall together. Days turned into weeks, and Ruth found herself evolving alongside the community she cherished. They launched a program that encouraged even more participation, where those in need could not only join in meals but offer their unique stories and experiences, creating a network of support. From gardening workshops to cooking classes for children, each event was a reminder that their struggles and triumphs intertwined, forming a bond that felt unbreakable. Then came the day of the first community fair. It was an event everybody looked forward to, a celebration of resilience and shared strength. The center buzzed with excitement, hundreds of community members gathering to uplift one another. Colorful banners waved in the breeze, and laughter rang out in waves. Woven through the vibrant atmosphere was Ruth, beaming with pride. Nia flitted like a butterfly, guiding new guests, helping everyone feel welcome. As the day wound down, Ruth stood before a gathering crowd, her heart swelling. "Thank you all for showing up," she began, her voice steady despite the tremor of emotion. "Every single one of you has created a safe place where we all belong." In sharing meals, we reminded one another that we are not defined by our struggles but by how we care for each other. Nia, standing close, spoke up, her voice bright. "And each dish has a story that matters. Like mine, I love summer salads, and I want to share them with everyone." The crowd erupted into cheers, the energy swirling, tangible and electric. This immense moment wasn't just about food, it was an awakening. An understanding that they were stronger together, a community designed to embrace vulnerability. Ruth marveled at the power of the connections forming each laugh, every shared memory, lighting up faces that had long accepted the shadows of their lives, and so, as the stars twinkled above, Ruth felt the weight lift further from her shoulders. Nia and the others had ignited a light inside her, one that felt unquenchable. No matter the uncertainties they faced, they would rise together. Ruth had cultivated a legacy, one built on kindness, resilience, and the undeniable strength found in love. Together, they forged on into the future, knowing that when shadows threatened, light would always find a way to return. This is the moment, dear friends. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next emotional journey. Leave a like right now to unleash this story to more hearts. Comment with your thoughts. How did this ending inspire you? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation come to life. Don't wait not even one more second to be part of our incredible journey.